Welcome to another episode of Anyone Have a Pencil. Today I'm joined by a long-term friend, Brandon Kintzler. Brandon and I grew up together in Las Vegas, Nevada, and he went drafted in the 40th round in Major League Baseball and really had to fight for every inch that he earned to make it to the major leagues, fought injury, circumstances, general managers, you name it, and really developed a bulletproof mindset that served him throughout his major league career to eventually make an all-star team. He led the National League in saves as a closer. I mean, the guy's just an overall impressive human being. I'm inspired by him every day, and I think that you will be entertained and learn something from our conversation. We discuss everything from, him making it to the majors, struggling, his comeback, what real leadership is, and how he has transitioned everything he learned from being a professional athlete into his personal life. And without further ado, let's welcome Brandon Kintzler.
So I appreciate you doing this, man. I mean, I wanted to set up a podcast. I called it Anybody Have a Pencil because I literally never had a pencil or paper when I was in school. So I was always like asking people so I could like write notes. And I was, man. And I wanted to, have conversations with people I find inspiring and interesting and we could learn from. So appreciate you taking the time for that.
Yeah.
I want to settle something really quick before we get going.
Okay.
Are baseball players the best athletes?
100%. All around athletes. I would say all around athletes because I would say like we grew up as like, say if you're a shortstop growing up, you have to be lateral. You have to be very coordinated to be able to make the shortstop's movements. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And obviously usually you're the best athlete on the team. So you got to hit and you got to throw. For some reason, we can always go be really good at any other sport. We can go play football and hang. We can play basketball and hang, golf. But you can't take a football player and go try to hit a 91-hour fastball and they look retarded throwing a baseball or even basketball. Like I just feel like we're just more agile because we always do lateral. We got to go forward. And we got to be explosive and we rotate. So if you go watch a lot of athletes that don't rotate very like BMX people, when I train BMXers and you tell them to rotate like throwing a medicine ball, it is terrible, very terrible. Or like do a lateral lunge. They can't go lateral because everyone trains in one plane. We train in a bunch of planes. While swinging a bat.
So I've had a lot of arguments with that because I mean Texas Tech's a big baseball town, a lot of baseball players out here. I mean the amount of people that play baseball and their kids, like they travel. I mean you probably know this. I mean I don't know if we had that back in the day, but like right now, like if you're 5 years old, you're on a traveling baseball team and you're playing year round and like going all over the Southeast.
We started travel ball in Vegas. There was 4 teams back then. We would just play each other every Sunday on a doubleheader. Other than that, we just played all the sports. I think that's why baseball players were good back then. We didn't play one sport. We played them all.
Yeah, same. I mean, I played lacrosse and basketball and then tennis in high school.
Right.
So I ran the gamut. But so here's my argument. Okay. I think baseball and, I have to eat my own words because I got drunk one time and bet one of my buddies. I was like, dude, I could throw a baseball 90 miles an hour. And he's like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. I was like, all right, let's go. And I haven't thrown a baseball as hard as I can since I was probably in, 6th or 7th grade. So I get up there. I think I topped out at like 70 or 72 miles an hour.
Who had a radar gun?
My buddy is a pitching coach.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like literally in his garage in his throwing pin. I'm like, I'm going to hit 90. And he's like, dude, if you don't stop, you're going to have shoulder surgery.
That's true.
So I give that credit. My argument was always, I see baseball as like kind of a specialist sport, like, cause you can specialize in being a pitcher and not do anything else, or you can specialize in being a hitter and not have to play any other position on the field because you could be a designated hitter. And if you were the best athlete, you would be drawn to the highest contracts in professional sports, which I think right now are like NFL and the NBA. And so
NBA for sure.
Yeah. So you're seeing some of those big money, but the more I've been around baseball players, dude, it's absolutely correct. They can pick up just about anything. And some of the best golfers I've ever golfed with are ex-baseball players or, currently coaching a team or whatever in baseball.
Usually left-handers, baseball players are the better golfers for some reason. But it only gets as you get older where you become one position. So like college is where I became just pitcher. Yeah. But other than that, you're always shortstop, third base, catcher. Like you're just doing it all.
Yeah.
I wish, unless you're Shohei, if you're Shohei and you get to do both, you make $70 million a year. So if we could all be like that.
Yeah. Well, you got a guy like Travis Hunter playing both ways at Colorado. I mean, there's unicorns in every sport.
Yeah, for sure.
But, well, yeah, the debate settled. Baseball players, I don't know if they're still the best athletes, but I give them way more respect as far as athletes go.
I would say all around athletes. If we had to do a combine of sports, I would say take Mike Trout or whoever, take our best athlete against everyone else's best athlete. And I think we would score higher in every sport.
Well, that's best athlete, right? I mean, the definition of that is like who can pick up and translate their skills to as many different sports as possible. That'd be like the best overall athlete.
Yeah, 100%. We would definitely be. There's no way they have no shot of hitting 90 miles, yet 100 miles an hour fastballs. Zero.
Is that really that hard?
Oh my God, it is so hard.
Like I've never even seen a 96 mile an hour fastball, but I can imagine that it's insane.
And you got to stay balanced.
Yeah.
You got to stay balanced. You got to decide if it's a strike. You got to figure out what kind of pitch it is, and it's going to move late. And you got to do all this in a matter of a tenth of a second. It's like those hitters, the hitters are under. Hitting is so hard. It is so hard. I'm so glad I was a pitcher.
Well, even on the pitching side, I think that's wild because you have to face, 9 different batters several times a game, like in rotation, like you're a starting pitcher, right? Yeah. So you have 9 different styles of hitters who all have different, strengths and weaknesses of pitches that they can hit and stuff like that. And you have to manage that in real time and not throw a bad pitch to like their strong suit.
Yeah.
I think that's like insane, like just mental control. I mean, anyway, that's part of the
starting pitchers. You see how exhausted these guys are after a start. Like the guys that can actually go deep, these guys are just drained.
Yeah. That's great. Well, and that's one reason one reason I respect you tremendously, but also really wanted to have you on this podcast is like, when you think of a pitcher, like an all-star pitcher, a lot of times you think of like a big, like physically imposing guy. You got like Randy Johnson, Roger Clemens, Nolan Ryan. I mean, I think he was big for his time, but not compared to these guys these days. You didn't come out of high school like 6'6", 240 pounds, throwing 104 miles an hour. Like,
no, I wish.
When I look at your, career and like being friends with you and like what you've gone through and where you come to now, it's like, you're just like all grit, dude. You're like grit, determination. It's fucking insane to me that I remember being at the, what was it, like the Rio Suites or something when you got drafted?
Yeah, my draft party. Yeah.
Dude, I remember walking out there like we were all having a good time. It was like what, the 40th round or
2 years in a row, 40th round.
And then you went from 40th round draft pick to, Major League All-Star.
That's what's great about baseball and sports is you just need a shot. You just need a shot. It's like, what are you going to do with that chance though?
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, so I think
it's the Eminem story.
Yeah, 100%. That was my walkout song. When I was a closer, that was my walkout song, was Lose Yourself.
Dude, so walk me through that, because I know you had like a bunch of injuries and it couldn't have been hard to just not quit. I mean, I know guys that were drafted in like the top 5 rounds that, they get a couple of injuries and they're like, man, it's not for me. I'm going to go get a job or whatever.
Yeah. Well, you want to go from college basics or just like just the grind? College, I was a good college player. I was probably top junior college pitcher in the country. I just couldn't stay healthy because I was on the smaller end and I was throwing so hard. But I think health, everyone's always scared of smaller pitchers. So I signed to go to UNLV out of Dixie, but I just decided to go in the draft because I didn't want to go to college anymore. And then I just couldn't stay healthy my first couple of years with the Padres. My shoulder was just killing me. I took 3 cortisone shots. And then they brought in a new minor league a farm director, they call it. And he just was like, clean house. And they're like, well, I was already hurt in spring training 2006. And they're like, why would we want to keep, or is anyone going to stand up for Kintzler? And no one stood up. They're like, why would we keep a 5'10" right-handed pitcher with a bad shoulder? So, and the trainer said he's going to need surgery. So they released me, but they still had to pay for my surgery. So I tried to rehab it, ended up having the surgery. And then, either way, when I heard that story, you know, if that doesn't piss you off, you probably shouldn't be in a professional sport anyways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was a little bit of like motivation to try to always want to prove. Anytime I had to prove somebody wrong, I mean, I'll take that challenge anytime. And then, but it was a grind. I had my shoulder just, even after surgery, it just took for a while. And I got a call from a team in Canada, independent ball, which is outside of affiliated baseball. So you're just playing just to get back, just to have another chance. So I had no idea where Winnipeg was, but it was an opportunity, you know?
Yeah.
So then I went up there, had a great year. I thought, I'll go to independent ball, get signed quick. I had a rookie of the year, whatever league this was, did not get signed. I was like, damn. So I went back for another year, and then I think I more partied than anything. So I didn't have a very good year, but no one was getting signed over here.
Is your shoulder feeling better at that time? I mean, you know, You're not signed to a big contract. A lot of it's like up to you, right? Like it's on your own dollar. You're training your shoulder to get back. And
the Padres had to pay for all my rehab until I signed back with an independent ball team. So, but you go to independent ball, I think my contract was $800 a month, but I had to pay for my hotel. So I was clearing like $200 a month.
Yeah.
And that's maybe, depending on how many text messages I have, because I was in Canada. So, I mean, I was paying to play there. And then, but my shoulder, my very first half of the season, my shoulder was still bad. I was only throwing like 80-something miles an hour. And that's why I started to learn the sinker. So I needed something to move, because four seam 85 miles an hour was going to get absolutely crushed.
Yeah.
But, so then I had my next year I came back, I was throwing harder, and I was a starter. I was nothing special, and I get that. But I wanted to get, no one was getting signed out of there. So, but then that was where I met my wife. So I stayed in the off season there. And I was just told myself, you know, I'm just going to I was going to be 22. I was 22, going to be 23. And I was like, I'm just going to give myself one real opportunity to train my butt off, give myself in the off season. I'm just going to really do everything I can this one time, see what happens. So I just started working way harder than I ever did. So, I mean, that was like, sometimes you just got to look yourself in the face and not blame anybody else. It's really your own fault.
Yeah.
So I wasn't working hard enough. And then, so I asked to get traded though at Winnipeg. I asked for a raise because I was a starting pitcher and they didn't want to give me a raise, which I only wanted like $1,200 a month. God forbid.
Yeah. I was like, can I buy some like Apple Jacks instead of eating the, you know, the supermarket brand of cereal here, please?
Subway. They didn't have $5 footlongs at Subway in Canada at the time. So it's expensive to eat somewhere. Yeah. And then they didn't want to give me a raise. So I was like, well, I want to get traded. They're like, well, why would a 5'10" right-hander that throws 88 miles an hour, what do you think you're going to do? I'm like, that's why I want to get traded, because that's how you feel about me.
Yeah, you don't believe in me.
Yeah. So they traded me to Minnesota, St. Paul, Minnesota, which is a blessing in disguise because you're back in the States. There's going to be some scouts that will show up. You're in front of fans. And then my motivation that year was to be the starter of the All-Star game. The All-Star game was going to be in Texas. And I know scouts are going to show up in Texas.
Yeah.
So that was just my motivation. And then I went to the All-Star game, went 2 innings, struck out 4, got signed out of the next day to the Brewers, and I was in Double-A. Well, now you're in Double-A. Now you're just a hot streak away now. Now anything could happen, you know? I don't care if you're the independent ball guy, because now you get innings and who knows? So then
is your wife still in Canada at that time? I mean, you guys weren't married at that point, right?
No, like when I was playing in Minnesota, St. Paul, she would drive probably 8 hours once a month and come hang out or come see me. We were just dating. And then she was with me when I got signed. And we both drove to Alabama at the time. She came down there, but then she flew back. So when you're at that point, you only get 6 months out of the year if you're Canadian. So we always had to like pick and choose how many days we were going to do. And then that was a struggle, but she was supportive of where I was at, and she could tell I was determined. And then so when I just wanted to, my very first outing of Double-A, I got crushed. I was like, I'm going to get released for sure. And then they didn't release me, but I I pitched really good the rest of that month there, and then I was just hoping to get invited back. So they invited me back for spring training on a minor league invite. Went to Double-A. After the first game, the manager made me the closer. I gave up no runs for 2 months in Double-A. That moved me to Triple-A. And next thing you know, I was in the big leagues. And it was like just like that. So you went from on the outskirts of out of baseball, basically making pennies, and then a year later, you're in the big leagues and you're hanging out with Hall of Famers. I mean, it happens so fast, but it's so mental. When you decide to make that mental switch of you're just tunnel vision, it's amazing what happens. That's how I made the All-Star game.
Yeah. So talk me through that, because, I think, especially like a lot of like entrepreneurs and like people that I do business with and stuff like that, we've all kind of made that decision of like, I think I can do something better than somebody else. But really all it is like, you got to keep pushing forward harder and faster than anybody else, because everybody wants to do the same thing, right? Everyone wants to be the pitcher. Everybody wants to buy the same property I'm trying to buy or whatever it is, right? So how do you make that mental switch? Because it's not like there was like a trainer or somebody that walked into your life and was like, I'm going to be at your door at 4:30 in the morning every morning. Yeah. We're going to, do this. Like, you were saying Minneapolis, St. Paul, you're partying a little bit too much. So, did you just like cold turkey? You're like, dude, fuck this. I'm going hard.
Yeah, I think you just got, like I said, at some point you just got to be like, you only have so many opportunities. Let's say in baseball, it's a short window to make as much as you can in a career. So you just, at some point, you got to look yourself in the mirror and be like, are you actually going to give yourself a chance? So I knew I had never been healthy in professional baseball as my shoulder. And I knew my shoulder was starting to become healthier. I'm like, okay, this is it. I'm going to give myself the best opportunity I can. I'm going to stay focused. I'm not partying. I'm just, I'm going to be 23 years old. And next thing you know, you're going to be, 26, 27. If you're not in the major leagues by the time, your window is really short. So I was just 22. I was just going to 23. That's when my girlfriend at the time, she was working 4 jobs. So she was doing everything she can to just let me train and do whatever I could. We lived in like a 500 square foot apartment in Winnipeg.
Damn.
Yeah. We didn't even have heat in the beginning, a water heater. We had to like boil the water to take a shower. It was crazy.
Jesus. Yeah. Dude, Winnipeg's like no joke cold. That's like negative 20. Cold.
It is the coldest place you'll ever experience. I mean, you lived in Chicago, and this is colder than Chicago.
Yeah, well, I've been in northern Canada too for like skiing and hunting and stuff like that. And dude, it's like you can't even walk outside with your lungs like start freezing the second you breathe.
Yeah, you got to be totally covered with everything.
Yeah.
So, anyways, so I think I had to look myself in the mirror a few times. Even when I got to the big leagues, and I got hurt again the next year. So then I had that surgery. So now you almost got to start all over. So 2012, I was coming back from my elbow surgery, and they sent me to the minor leagues to rehab, and then I wasn't doing well in my rehab, so it's called designated, which they take you off the 40-man roster. So that's like always that's a big thing to get taken off. So then I got taken off the roster, and Melissa called me up, and she told me stop acting like a little bitch and man up, because I was like totally complaining about my elbow all the time. She goes, when are you gonna stop acting like a little bitch and just man up? Now look at this situation we're in. I'm just like, damn, you're right. So then now so now I was just done with my elbow. I'm like, I'm just gonna try to just blow this thing out. If it's gonna blow, it's gonna blow. Otherwise, all the scar tissue is just gonna crack. So then I was just on a mission to just every day I was on a serious mission. My routine changed. I was working out in the morning. This is during the season, which you don't normally do, but I work out in the morning, go to Starbucks, have my coffee. I'm just in my own tunnel, go to Starbucks, have my coffee, go hang out at the stadium, mentally prepare, get my routine going, and then I'm just tunnel vision because I'm getting back to the big leagues. Like I'm letting myself that, like I had this opportunity and I let it get away because mentally I got comfortable where I was at because I made the big leagues. Like that's the thing. It's crazy to say, but it's easier to make it than it is to stay.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's like the whole trick, right?
Yeah.
It's like, how do I get longevity? Yeah. You're constantly fighting for your job.
Yeah. So then they moved me out of Double-A. I had to I got hot. I finally started pitching on a mission. I was just full on attack mode. And then they moved me to Triple-A they call it September call up. So usually that's to expand the rosters. Back then you can bring up the rest of the 40-man roster. So there was 25, you could bring up 15 people. So at the time, I had 2 weeks ago, they brought me up to Triple-A and September was coming in 2 weeks. Like you got 2 weeks to basically try out in Triple-A. I was like, done deal. called me up. So I did dominate. I mean, I dominated AAA for those 2 weeks. And then they called me up and I didn't go back to the minor leagues. So I had knee surgery again after 14. I had to start all over and miss most of 15. And then, so now you're like, that's the thing is in 2013, I was one of the top relievers in baseball. Yeah. Now you think I'm on it. Finally, it's paying off. I'm on the right track. Yeah. Boom, my left patellar tendon has a small tear in it, and I pitched for a season and a half with it. And then I had to have surgery after 14. So then I go to spring training in 15. My rehab went terrible. My leg just not strong. It was 60% weaker than my right leg. So then they try to release me, and I said, "You can't do that. I'm hurt." And they're like, "Well, you pitch." I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I do. I pitch hurt." So they had to unrelease me, and they sent me to Arizona to rot on my rehab, but they still had to pay me. And I got my service time. In Major Leagues, all you want is your service time, because that works towards your pension.
And what franchise is this with?
This was Milwaukee at the time.
Milwaukee, yeah.
Fucking assholes at the time. So they sent me to rehab. I spent most of 15 of the summer rehabbing my knee. I finally get out of there. I go back to AAA in September, and then they designate me, which I take off the 40-man roster. So now I'm going to 16. I got to go to the minor leagues again. Minnesota signs me. And I should have made that team out of spring training, but I didn't. But I had an out in May. It's called an out, where you can opt out of your minor league contract, where let's say you're pitching really good. They have to decide whether to call you up or they can release you and you're free to sign with someone else. So Minnesota had to call me up within a month. I was their closer, because I knew this is where Eminem was. I knew I would never get a chance to close ever in my life. And someone ever did. I knew I had to run with it. So we were the worst team in baseball at the time, but our relievers were struggling. So I was like, they knew I wasn't scared. So the manager, Paul Mauldin, he put me in as a closer, and I just ran with it because I knew that would change my whole life. And then the next year I was an All-Star.
Wait, you weren't closing in Milwaukee?
No, I was a setup guy there. I was an eighth inning guy there.
Gotcha. Yeah, because that seems like that's what like switched all of it for you, is when you got the closing. Then didn't you lead like the major leagues in ERA as a closer at one point?
Yeah, I was tied for the league in saves. I lowest ERA going in the All-Star break, and I wasn't even. And then the thing is, like the All-Star, I wanted to be an All-Star, but I knew if you thought about stuff like that, you would just be distracted with, like my bullpen coach was like, "Your focus is too wide." And I thought, like, you're actually right. Like, he's like, just focus on today's task and just helping your team win. Focus on yourself. Yeah. So when I just put my head down, I was just I had 23, 24 saves at the break, which not many people have anymore. And then I remember getting that call, you made the All-Star team. It was like, damn, like all that shit finally paid off. Like the sacrifices and because I never thought that I would ever stand on on a line with all the greatest in the game. And it's just like, now I get to do that. But it just shows it's all mental, man. It's not physical. There's so many talented people, so many smart guys in business, but it's just like, who's going to decide to stay focused on the task at hand day 100%. To day, the grind, the grind. It's hard to embrace the grind. The grind's real.
That's all.
No matter what you're doing.
Yep. I think that, there's way more like highly educated people in my field. There's way more, talented people with big ideas. But like what it comes down to, I think, is it's a war of attrition, man. You have to be able to show up and fight that war of attrition, spend time away from your family, get on a plane when you need to. Sometimes I'm up at 4:30 in the morning taking calls on the East Coast so I can get something done or whatever it is. Like I'm dedicated to that. And, finally my life is like starting to balance out a little bit more, but that's what it is though, man. It's just like, it is a grind. All of the good ideas, all the money in the world that you have in your checking account, if that's your motivation, you're fucked.
100%.
Because eventually you're going to lose money on a deal, or, someone's going to have a bigger checkbook than you or whatever it is. The way you win is basically that grind, that grit. And dude, one of my favorite things too, I forgot about this till I was, stalking your Wikipedia page today.
Yeah.
But you pitched in Chicago. I was living in Chicago at the time too. I think we came watch you play a couple of times.
Yeah, we went to dinner too.
Yeah, but you were only there for what, a year, 2 years?
Year and a half. I got traded there, and then I played the following year there.
So then they traded you, and then didn't you come back and like shut them out
in the playoff?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. Well, they tried to offer. No, I became a free agent from them. And I had a career year for them in 19, and I made no sense why they didn't bring me back. It just made no sense. They offered me pennies on the dollar. Either they were just really, really trying not to spend money, or something was weird.
Yeah.
So when we went back to them, face them in the playoffs, and I struck out the side to send them home, and it was like, I liked Theo Epstein, but it was like kind of like fuck you, and I like make sure I put Miami across the chest and stuff like that. Feels good because they just let me go I had a great year for them, and they gave me nothing.
It probably worked out better. I mean, there's no state income tax in Florida, so I'd rather be in Miami too.
Especially how much money we lost during COVID, because we only got 30% of what our actual salary was that year, so we needed everything we could.
Oh, that's why we left Chicago too. I was like, what am I'm paying all these like state income taxes. There's potholes everywhere. All the schools are shut down. Like, this place is trash.
Yeah.
And it used to be my favorite. It used to be my favorite city in the US, like big city.
Yeah.
But like going through that and seeing how they handled themselves, I was like, I'm never going to come back here. I'm not spending another dollar here.
I wouldn't live there. I liked visiting, but I would not choose to go live there.
Yeah. Well, dude, I love that for a couple reasons. One is like, I think in the modern era of, business or, with TikTok and Instagram and all this stuff, everyone's trying to like hack their life, wake up and then, read these 5 books and do your ice bath and then your sauna and then go work out, like all this stuff. It's like, dude, you're missing the forest through the trees. You're missing the part where you just have to be like mentally prepared to embrace the suck and just like move forward and get it done. You can sit around, playing business person or playing, want to be a professional baseball player, but are you really out there like throwing hundreds of balls in the 110-degree Vegas heat?
Yeah. And are you waking up? Are you going to train every day? Like, are you going to really train? There's a difference of going to work out and training. There's a huge difference. Yeah.
So it seems like, with your position in, your kids' lives, and I think you're still helping like athletes and, you're in the motocross stuff now. What's like the best advice you can give someone now to kind of replicate your mindset? And it doesn't have to be some like, overly complicated thing, but like, how do you prepare kids?
My main thing I always say is hard work pays off. It's going to pay off somehow. It may not pay off like you could become a major league all-star or whatever, but at some point in life, your hard work and determination and your focus will pay off somehow. It'll pay you back. Life will pay you back. It's funny you asked. Like, I asked Max Scherzer. I had dinner with Max Scherzer the other night, and this guy's got probably almost $1 billion in the bank and going to be a major league Hall of Famer. And I'm like, why are you still playing? Because we're the same age. Like, why? He's like, I just love to compete. I just want to compete and I love to win. He's like, I still get these motherfuckers out. So I'm just like, well, why would you do that to yourself? Like, just go home.
Right.
No, he's like, it's not about being the best. He goes, I know I'm going to be in the Hall of Fame. He goes, I just want to compete. He goes, and I love the grind of it. He goes, I love to embrace it. I love the routine of preparing, the mental grind of beating these guys. So it's like, that's a whole nother level of wanting to, compete and be the best. Cause he's not that he wants to be the best. He just wants to get you out.
Yeah.
He just wants to beat you.
And I kind of hear in there too, like, falling in love with the little things. Like, for someone like him that's so accomplished, made all the money, it'd be really easy to start skipping the little things. The daily details, the daily preparations. I got I got a yacht now. I got houses in 4 different states. Maybe I'm just going to go hang out there and hang out with my boys. I can still show up and get, most of these guys out. Right.
Yeah.
But he's so obsessed with those like minute details that it makes him great. Like fall in love with the little things.
Yeah. And I think that's what first thing I got to the big leagues, Trevor Hoffman, going to be in the Hall of Fame. Or he is in the Hall of Fame now. But at the time, my very first day in the big leagues, he was like, you got to have a routine. You got to learn a routine and you got to stick to it. He goes, good or bad days, you got to stick to the routine.
So anyway, being in locker rooms and having guys like that, is he I mean, sounds like he was a significant mentor to you.
Trevor Hoffman?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was like my very first eye-opening, like this is a superstar. You know, as kids, we watch Trevor Hoffman. It's like, wow, it's Trevor Hoffman.
Yeah.
And now this is my first day in the big leagues. And one thing I always love, I always talk about when someone introduces themselves, when they just say their first name, I don't need to hear your first and last names. I already fucking know who you are, by the way. When he just says, hey, I'm Trevor, like we're equals. I'm Trevor. I'm not Trevor Hoffman. You don't need to know, like, it's just Trevor. And that's when he said, I was like, this dude's already down to earth. And he's like, we had to follow his routine every day. It was called Camp Hoffman. You had to run 2 miles with your shirt off. You had to do everything that he was going to do. So then he was 40 years old, and he could tell he wanted to kick our ass just to show. But it was like, he goes, I do. And then he would do his cold tubs every day. That's where I first learned about cold tubs. Everyone's just starting doing it now. Like, man, I was doing that shit like way back in the day.
Yeah. So
that's when I started learning about cold tubs. You know what? I think you learned along the way what makes you successful in your routine, because you don't want to follow everyone, because everyone's body's different. But I just learned through each injury, my routine got different, and it'll take me an hour. By the time I was 34 years old, it would take me an hour to get my body ready just to go out to play catch. And it's like, you know how hard that is to do 180 straight days in a row during the season?
Insane. Yeah.
Whether it's a morning game or a night game, but it was just like, but that's what the sacrifices and the want to be at the top. And it got me mentally prepared. Let's just say if I skip that routine, now I'm just like, I'm probably not mentally as prepared that day. And the guy in the box probably prepared all day for this at bat. So if he has an advantage on me, he's going to get me. So that is just the whole routine is a whole. It's like you wake up and you're thinking about this routine. So that whole routine throughout the day prepared you for that 5 minutes of that game, that night.
Yeah. There's like a whole chess match taking place before you even throw a ball in the game.
Who's eating better? Who slept better last night? Who's making the sacrifice? You know what I mean? And I didn't learn that. I mean, it took a lot of failure to learn that. Let's just say when you're in the mid-20s, you're in the big leagues and you're making all this money, you're partying your ass off, you're having a good time. But those guys don't. And I learned this probably after 2 years in the big leagues. Those guys don't last very long. It's a fantasy that you're living out there, because that life's not real. Those people don't care about you at the club. No one cares about you. They don't want you. They just want to be around you to be part of this moment that they partied with you. But then if you go and suck the next day, they're not losing their job. You're going to lose your job. And that whole fantasy you just lives over.
Yep.
So the second you realize that, and you just stay focused on the task at hand and try to get that extra hour of sleep, be hydrated, make that sacrifice for the long term of, I could sit here and talk on a podcast with you instead of being at a job.
Yeah. Is there a leader in the locker room, especially like in your younger career, that really stands out to you?
I mean, there's good leaders and bad. Like Prince Fielder, I think on each team had parts of my career was different. Like when I was young, it was like this guy was named LaTroy Hawkins. He pitched 20 years in the big leagues. He helped show me the way of, staying even keel, good and bad days. If you have a bad day, the sun's still going to come up tomorrow. A good day, you know what? Tomorrow's a new day, stay humble. It's like you never want to let you get up this way.
Yeah.
Where Prince Fielder taught me about being a good teammate. I remember it was opening day 2011, and we just got walked off. We gave up a game-winning homer to end the game. And then, I'm just going to go inside. I didn't play. I just go inside, shower, and I was going to leave. And I walked into the clubhouse, showered, ate, about to leave. He goes, hey, man, you got family in town? I'm like, no, man. He goes, we just fucking lost. You at least fucking sit a half hour and act like you fucking care. I'm like, fuck. Yeah, like, you're right. So every time I always came to the clubhouse after a game, and I just sat in my chair, just talk to the players, be more, instead of just treating it as a job, I wanted to treat it more like this was family and friend, instead of just like, oh, I didn't lose the game, I'm out of here. Fuck you guys.
Is there like I grew up in locker rooms too. I feel like there's kind of like a collective healing moment after stuff like that, even though no one's saying anything to each other, just everyone being like miserable together has some sort of like, I don't know, healing effect. Like you look at the guys around you, you're like, dude, we got the next one. Yeah.
It shows you care. First of all, you can see the guys that care and don't care. I can't stand, I never understood it until Prince pointed it out. When as I got older, And I couldn't stand by the time I got to the clubhouse from the bullpen. So I walked from the outfield in. If you were already showered and dressed, by the time I walked into the clubhouse, you really do not care.
Yeah.
And I hated that.
So, you spent what, 10 years? It was 10 or 11 years in the major.
10 years.
10 years. So, second half of your career, maybe even earlier. I mean, you've been around for a while. Now you're kind of a veteran in a locker room.
Yeah.
Right. So what was that like? Like, how did you're a go-to guy. Now you got younger pitchers coming in that may or may not be going through stuff that you've experienced in your career. How'd you handle that? What was your leadership like?
So first I wanted to learn more. Even as I got older, I got to play with Joe Mauer in Minnesota, and Joe Mauer is one of the best players of all time, best hitter. So I wanted to watch how this guy went about his business, because is he the leader? Like, you don't know when you go to an organization, like, who's the leader in here? And Joe was so quiet, and that wasn't his style. He just led by his routine. The stuff that this guy had to go to just to play a game was, talk about dedication to a routine. I felt terrible for what he had to do just to get ready to go out there. So that's how he led. So it's just like, you kind of got to learn where your place is. But I realized in the bullpen, okay, I'm going to have to be the one that leads. So and these guys were all younger than me. So I just led by just, preparation, forcing our routine when we show up, trying to teach guys routine, because these guys don't know. And someone taught me. So you forget, though, you're just so caught up in the grind of the season, worrying about yourself, that at some point someone pulled me aside and they helped me. So I should help them, so all of a sudden you got to start paying attention to that. And now there's some of all these young kids that I have helped that have gone on to have amazing careers. I'm not saying it's because of me, but you like to think that you had
you play a role.
Yeah. So then, so that in Minnesota, that's where I started to learn, because I was a closer. And then you don't want to act, when you're the closer, you don't want to act like you're above everyone. I hated when I had a closer on my team that acted like he was just above everybody. And it always rubbed me the wrong way. So I wanted to make sure I was always a good teammate, always friendly.
Is that a thing with closers where they're, they're sitting in the bullpen by themselves most of the time. They pitch a couple innings. Is there
well, they don't show up till the 5th or 6th inning normally. So you're really not with the boys a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not in the fight with the boys. So even though I was showing up in the 5th, I always want to make sure I was friendly in the clubhouse. So we're always doing our routine, getting our bodies ready together. We go out to dinner together. Like, you still got to make sure you're doing stuff together. That way they never think like, oh, Kintzler's just full of himself because he's a closer. Everybody wants to be the closer. That's the job you want to have. Okay. And when you do have the job, just like when you get to the top of your industry, you don't want to be like, oh, I'm selling this and I got all this land. I'm making these business deals. Fuck you guys. But don't forget about someone helped you get there along the way. Someone taught you something. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's why I hate when people say I'm a self-made man. I mean, I can't remember where I heard this, but it's like, no, dude, I'm not self-made man. We're byproducts of hundreds of people along the way. Our families, our interactions with our friends, our, the veteran that taps you on the shoulder and is like, hey, dude, get a routine. It's like, you can say whatever you want. I'm a self-made man, but dude, that's not true at all. You owe a lot of people a lot of, recognition for helping getting you where you are.
I'll never forget. I was 2011. I just got called back up. And then my first inning, I had a great inning. Second inning, I went back. I was throwing hard. My stuff was nasty. But then I gave a home run. And I was just down on myself and eating dinner in the clubhouse. And Craig Counsell, who at the time had he's probably the manager of the Cubs now, but at the time he had 16 years in the big leagues. And he sits down and goes, hey, if you keep doing what you did today, you're going to be just fine. He goes, don't even worry about it. You're going to be just fine. So it was he didn't have to do that. I didn't even have a year in the big leagues, but he came out of his way. He saw that I was a young kid, probably down on myself. I was throwing great. I made one mistake. That's what it takes one mistake in the big leagues, and you ruined your day. But that just made me feel a lot better about myself. Now I do belong here. I just got to keep doing what I'm doing. So it just takes. You're right. It just takes one guy. You never know what some guy's going to make you feel good. I remember I had a terrible outing. And I blew a save. And our bullpen coach, Eddie Guardado, at the time, I had known him since I was a kid. So he was a big mentor for me. And then, but I got lucky that I got to go pitch while he was still coaching. And I blew a save, and I come back the next day. He goes, hey, did the sun come up? I'm like, yeah, it did. He goes, fucking new day then, right? Yesterday doesn't matter. I'm like, sun was. That's why I try to tell people now. The sun's always going to come up, good or bad day. Did the sun come up? Yeah. Fuck. The world. You thought the world was going to end last night.
Yeah. What do you think makes, like, because like to your point too, there's a huge difference between like the best talent on the team and the best leader.
Yeah.
Right. Like the best talent, like, take Kevin Durant for instance. He's never been known to be like a great leader in the NBA, but he's one of the best talents ever. What do you think makes a really good leader?
I think, one, you don't take yourself too serious. You kind of, and the best leader is never the most talented guy on the team. Like, I play with Bryce on many teams. He's not the best leader because he's too high. He's too up and down and, into himself, but that's just how Bryce has to operate. Like, I don't know how it would be Bryce Harper can't go grocery shopping or nothing,
Yeah, right.
Like, that would suck.
Yeah.
But the best leaders are the ones that are just very personable and you're respected by others. You're respected by others because you're more approachable. You're not so caught up into yourself. You care about others on your team. And like I played with Ryan Braun, he was an all-star. He was not a very good leader at all. But Prince Fielder, that guy cared about his teammates. He cared about winning. When you show that you care about winning and not just your stats, like that's part of with Bryce. We could win 7-0. That's a great game. But if he went 0-for-3 with a strikeout and then it wasn't, the guy that helped us win, you could tell he was a little more quiet. And that's just like, it's not a good vibe. People see that right away.
Yeah.
And then, when you're the same, when you got to be same all the time. So, if you're the guy that, like, good or bad, you're always the same guy every day, you're respected right away from that. And whether anyone can be happy when you're going hot. I mean, I want to see what you look like when you fail that night. How are you going to show that? And that's what they want to see. A lot of the executives want to see, like, okay, you failed. You were young. You were going so well. You had a bad night. Let's see how you react now, because everyone can do anything when they're going well. You know what I mean? Yep.
So how do you snap yourself out of that? Hitters experience it when they're, going through a drought, right? Pitchers. Routine. Yeah. So just melting back into your routine and like the preparation for the game.
Just keep preparing. Don't change the routine. One thing is, like, with hitters, it's tough. Sometimes they'll overhit. They'll over prepare in the cage. Sometimes they got to get dialed back a little bit where they're just swinging themselves to death. Yeah. But that's one thing. Like, I've been lucky. I have great mentors where they're just like, show up the next day, good or bad. You just got to jump in the routine, start the whole process again. That's the thing. Like, you could have an amazing night. Let's say you have a night game and had an amazing save. You're so high and you can't go to bed because it was just an amazing adrenaline. And let's just say you got a 1:00 day game the next day. Now you got to, like, turn the page and get off this high, like, and start that whole routine again. It's easy to just be like, man, I had a great night last night. I'm not doing that routine. Like, fuck that. No, you got to stick to it. Let's just say you don't do that, and then you gave up the game. That game night before didn't even matter. Right. Your teammates saw, they're like, oh, because you had a good night, you're not going to come in and do your work. Yeah. And that's the thing. And you need to have a teammate that'll call you out on that.
What's the craziest, like, superstition you've seen in a locker room? Like, is there anybody, like, what's the dude's name from Major League that was, like, sacrificing chickens?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Was there anything crazy like that where somebody was like, I don't know, didn't change their underwear for a year?
I can see people didn't change their socks. Some people didn't change their underwear. There's just one guy where he just literally had to, like, stand in the same spot all the time. He had to do the same routine. He had to stretch the same. Like, and it's hard to watch. Because the bullpen guys, I can only really see what bullpen guys do because I'm not around the hitters as much. But, like, the bullpen, you do the same routine. It's just as long as you don't get, like, obsessed with it. Because sometimes you don't have time to do the same routine every time. But this one guy his name was Bert Badenhop. This guy was all over the bullpen, like, just walking everywhere. He just had to do, like, he had to get this stretch in. Then he had to, like, do a certain one-legged jump. And then it was just, like, so much stuff. I'm like, bro, I'm exhausted just from watching you. You're stressing me out.
Was that what? Regardless of if he knew he was pitching or not, he did it?
Oh yeah. He had to do it all the time, and it was just like, it was exhausting. Like, it gives me anxiety. Like, can you stop right here? Like, we're not even. It's the first inning already. Like, just stop. Just sit down and drink a Red Bull or something.
It's like 99, 100, 101. I got to get to 300. Yeah,
I got to get over here. I got to go do this stretch. At this part of the day, I got to stretch like this. And this part of the day, I got to drink this.
Yeah.
It's like, that's exhausting too. That's too much for me.
So what's life like after, you leave baseball? I mean, you have a beautiful family. Your wife's a badass. I know you're doing some competitive stuff outside of baseball now, but like, what was that transition like? How'd you deal with it?
It was a lot harder than I thought it would be because, I think in 2021, I was kind of ready to just be over. I think the COVID season was just so draining, and I sacrificed a lot. I gave everything I had to that Miami team. I pitched whenever I just wanted to get us to the playoffs, and I had a $4 million option, and they denied it. They didn't pick it up, and that was like so hurtful, and knowing that there's no loyalty from everything we just went through during the COVID year and all this stuff, COVID season. And after that, I was just kind of like, man, fuck this game, dude. I'm just going to get what I can out of it one more year. I'm just going to go home. It was like, home sounded amazing at the time.
Yeah.
And then, so I ended up getting, I got 3 from the Phillies, but then like I had incentives with them. I had either one more game for like 150 grand incentives, and they released me right before that. And I was just like,
golly, that's brutal, man.
I lost my fucking mind on the manager just because I thought it was such a bullshit move. And he easily could have got me that one game earlier in the season, And after that, I was just like,
how do you respond to that? What did he say? Was he empathetic at all?
He tried to say he didn't know. I'm like, well, that's why you're a fucking garbage manager, because you should know that. Every manager I know knows incentives. You should always know the incentives.
Yeah.
I think I was in a bad place because my son had broken his one from the 1 year before, not getting my option picked up. So I was just kind of bitter because I led the league in saves. A COVID year, like I had 13 to 16. I don't know. I was tied with Kenley Jansen and Josh Hader. So the top closers in all of baseball, I was tied with them.
Yeah.
And I got no respect from it. So this is why people are like, why are you so salty and gritty? I'm like, because the shit I deal with, I get no respect.
Yeah,
and it pisses. But that's the only way I survive.
It's like, what else can you do? I'm leading the majors in saves.
Yeah, I was an all-star. I give an all-star, and no one wants to pay me what the middle guy got. Like it was constantly like, prove yourself, prove it again, do it again. That's the thing about in this sport is you have an amazing year, you come home, you're thinking, oh man, I'm gonna get paid, but it's like nobody cares. You got to do it again, and then you got to do it again, and then you got to do it again. It's just like it's exhausting. It's like you say you make an amazing deal, great business. And then it's over, and it's like, well, now you got to go do it again.
Right.
Yeah. And that is the hardest part, is to get yourself back up to go do that big deal again. Can you make the sacrifices? Can you grind? And that's where I say the grind isn't for everybody, because not everybody wants to do it again. They just want to do it one time. Yeah,
I agree, man. I think the hardest part too is like the monotony of it, where like I'll have someone call me for an offer, and we're going back and forth on price, and I'm just like, can we just not do this? This is what I'm going to pay. This is what they're going to sell it for. Can we just not go back and forth for 6 weeks over, $50,000? Oh, I've done this 1,000 times. What are we talking about? It just gets old, man. But good thing is, I love it. And, I can't see myself doing anything else. I don't have any other talent, first of all.
Right. That's where I was at. That's where I felt like there's nothing else. I sold up myself out. I went to college, but did I really go to college? It's like,
right. Yeah.
This is all I've ever wanted to do.
I love the competition of it. Like I just want to win. Like even, I started doing this thing with some guys from my church that they were like, there's this like 75 strong thing where you like work out twice a day and all that stuff. So we made a little adjustment to that. It's like, work out, but wake up at 5 a.m. Don't drink any alcohol for 70 days, read, pray, meditate, do whatever. And so I started doing that.
Tunnel vision.
Dude, I got tunnel vision because I'm not even a drinker. I'll drink like on a Friday at the golf course with my buddies or whatever, but like Monday through Friday, I'm not drinking.
I feel like an idiot when I do that.
Yeah, but like just removing that from my life, I'm so full of like aggression and like I just want to crush everybody right now.
Yeah, they love it, right?
Yeah, because I'm just like, oh, like that guy's, that guy made the $6 million on this deal, and now he's like paying for private jets and flying around. He's not doing the work. I made $7 million on the last deal. and I'm grinding my ass off to make $7.5 million on the next deal while you're flying around the country. Like, that's what gets me up, dude. I'm like, I'm game. Let's go.
I love that.
So how did you replace that? Because that's, you know, that's in your DNA too. That's in your monkey brain, dude.
You know, luckily, like I'm not saying I jumped into BMX literally the day after I retired. But like,
you just hung it up and you're like, buy a bike.
And my son was already racing at the time.
Okay.
And I was just so over baseball. I had offers. The thing is, it crushes me a little bit because I had offers to go to the Braves that year right away. And they won the World Series, ended up winning the World Series that year. But I was just so bitter about baseball. I wanted nothing. I just wanted to go home. I just wanted to go hang out with my kids and I'd just be around people that actually care about me. So then we went to the track and I got in the gate. And the thing about BMX is it's you and like 7 other dudes in a gate. And it's all adrenaline. All of a sudden that adrenaline rush just came back of like power on power. And I was just like, this is what I miss. Like I lost that in baseball a little bit. But like obviously that gets old. Because it gets the training for that when there's really no payday on that one.
Right.
Zero payday for us. So, I mean, that's just fun to go.
It's a tax write-off.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was hard. I mean, the first couple months was fun. But also the next season comes around and you're not doing anything. I went through some mental struggles, some depression. Because, you know, they don't prepare you for that. They try to prepare you for that. But no one cares. Like it's just gone. It's over. Yeah. It's just like, and that's when you come to reality of like life moves on and that's not your identity anymore. Then you can move on. When you don't identify yourself as the Major League Baseball player and you're just a normal person, I think that's when you move on personally and mentally. And it probably took me a couple years. I think even now and then, I still struggle with it a little bit. It's because I never got that goodbye, and it was just like it was over. It was never like, oh, this would be my last season, this would be my last month, whatever. It's just gone. Yeah. And my wife struggled with that a lot too. She didn't get to because at the time they didn't only 50%, 60% popular people can go to the game, so she never got to go to a lot of the games. So she struggled with that too. But I don't know. I still think I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do on the second half of life. And then I like listening what you're saying, the stuff that you're just talking about, the stuff that I've highly been interested, but I don't know how to start it. And that's the thing that's why you need mentors, is someone teach you how to start something.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And like I was saying, I mean, I benefited from that big time too. I think like, dude, you remember Lauren Bonani from high school? My girl, I dated her in high school, right?
Yeah.
Her dad was an attorney for like Loscal Corporation, which is like Long John Silver's and Taco Bell and maybe KFC, right? So his job as an attorney for them was to like negotiate land contracts for them to put together, shopping centers where they were like the anchor tenant. Yeah. So, there's a lot of opportunity from that, right? You start a shopping center and Taco Bell moves in as the first anchor tenant. It's really easy to fill up all the other spaces.
Yeah.
And I remember being in high school and like, I never really talked to him that much, but I remember like sitting in his office or like sitting in the living room, like listening to him on the phone, like negotiating deals and stuff like that. And like from that moment, I was like, that's what I'm going to do with the rest of my life.
Really?
Yeah. Like just that little change of being like, that guy's a badass and I want to do what he does. And I want to get on a helicopter and go look at dirt over an area that no one's ever built anything, and then take that piece of dirt and do something with it. Like
and turn it into something.
Yeah. And I just like fell in love with that. It took me a while to get there. I didn't come from a rich family or nobody wrote me a check, but it took me a while to get there. And like, I don't know, I love it. And the same thing that you love about baseball, like the preparation, we go through the same thing on every deal. Has to meet these parameters. This is our spot checks on everything. And then it's just a competition. It's like a race to see who can do it better than somebody else. I love that.
I think when I go and see like around Summerlin, like, we see everything that we partied on and it was just dirt. And now you see what it develops and what these people do. You're just like, that's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
You just create like towns and communities of just out of dirt. And then where you got to design it and stuff. It's like, it's art, man. It really is art.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a creative aspect to it. And I think it's more art than science. You know, Pat Vassar always says that to me. He's like, it is more of an art than a science because, you know, first of all, you could do third grade math and understand a real estate deal. You know, it's like,
for sure.
It's not hard to figure out. What's hard to figure out is like, what am I going to creatively do with this space? Or, you know, it gets even harder if you buy like an old space that was like a, you know, commercial office building. And now there's no market for, you know, office because people are working from home and stuff. All right.
Yeah.
Take this building and do something with it, dude. Let me know what you come back with.
You know what's going crazy out here that I see is just massive warehouses. I mean, they're freaking everywhere. 200,000 square foot warehouse. It's all there is.
Yeah. Industrial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All these .coms or whatever just need all these massive warehouses. It's amazing. Like,
yeah.
And you know what's really interesting? You know, out when Sloan, you know, they're the Terrible's Casino.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, they have the biggest Terrible's gas station you've ever seen in your life and a Starbucks, and that's all there is. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on out here? Like, who knows what is going to happen out here? Why is this here?
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be some kind of airport or with that tram or something. Like, those guys know. There's no reason why Starbucks is going to put one in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Why are they out there already?
Yeah. And the biggest gas station you've ever seen. Only in Texas. What's that one in Texas? Buc-ee's. It looks like a Buc-ee's. It looks just like a Buc-ee's. Yeah, that's how big it is.
Dude, Buc-ee's. Everyone that knows I live in Texas asks me about Buc-ee's. That's crazy.
Awesome.
Dude, it is awesome. You literally, that's the best gas station in the world.
100%.
So what are you doing then? You're just riding bikes and scaring the shit out of your wife?
Yeah. Well, I wake up in the morning. I take the kids I got a golf cart now, so I take the kids to the bus on the golf cart, and then I always make sure I work. If I don't work out, I'm in a terrible mood. Like, it's my routine. I need a routine. If I don't have a routine and I don't do that routine that day, I'm in a terrible mood, and my wife knows it. So it's like I get my routine in of a workout, and then I'll train some people if they come over, and then after that, man, it's just like I get about a couple hours of just chilling before the kids come home, and after that, you're just Uber driving. And then trying to deal with all the chaos you possibly can until they go to bed and do it all over again.
Yeah. Well, tell me about your podcast. What is it? It's called Call to the Pen.
Call to the Pen. So me and Steve Cishek, we played together in Chicago. He's a reliever also. And we were like good cop, bad cop playing it. We always like went after each other, but it was like in a friendly way of talking trash. Like it was like a sitcom every day. So we're total opposites of personality. But we always had the same goal of obviously winning. And like, he had an amazing career. He's definitely one of the better relievers, most underrated reliever careers there was. But I broke my ankle last year racing, and I was like, I'm going to be home for a while. I can't walk. So I was like, I text Steve. I was like, you want to start a podcast? I think we'd be actually really good together. And he goes, yeah. So he's like, what do you want to do with it? I'm like, I don't know. Like, stick up for relievers, talk trash. He goes, I'm not going to. He's like, he won't talk bad about anybody. Even if you're the worst baseball player in the world, he always say that you're good. So then I always say you just suck.
I hate guys like that.
Yeah, he drives me nuts. Everyone's like, Steve's so nice. He never say anything bad. I'm like, I know. It drives me nuts. But I don't know. It's just like a good dynamic. We really flow well together. And then, but Max Scherzer wants to start doing a podcast together too when he retires. So I don't know what I'm going to do if I do that. Awesome. If that happens, I think it would be hilarious.
Yeah, I've checked out a couple episodes. I'm not even like a big baseball guy, and I find it entertaining. So I'll definitely keep that. I mean, dude,
that's good.
It's the same thing with like I was off of social media for like 7 years.
Yeah, you were. You disappeared for a long time.
Yeah, and then I was just so sick of it, and like I was tired of looking at other people, like pictures of other people's kids, and like hearing about like getting lectured on politics by like some idiot with blue hair and no job. I was just like, dude, what are we even like? This is a cesspool. But then, really put my head down on the business side, and then came back and I was like, I'm like a B- student, and I figured this out. So like, I want to do something where I can provide value to people for free. Like I don't try to charge people anything or do anything like that. And I think I have value to offer. And it's also another war of attrition. Like over COVID, 780,000 podcasts were started, and only like 300,000 of them remain. Because everybody was like, oh, like we'll start a podcast, and the industry got a little hot, right? And so now I'm like, well, nobody knows who I am or what I do, which is fine by me. But now I'm like in this competition to be like, I'm just going to keep doing it and try to get better at it every podcast, every time I do something, and just do it and just keep doing it and trying to add value. And then, the competitive side of me wants to like win at that. So we'll see.
No, I definitely, when you post some stuff and you say something like, especially with tax and stuff, I'm like, shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually like really good info. You know who I can't stand is that dude from Vegas. He's got purple hair sometimes. And
Ryan Pineda.
Yeah. Oh my God. So annoying. He's so annoying.
Yeah. Well, I won't give you my opinion on him because we do some stuff with them, but
is he is he big time out here or?
So he's more of like a lead generator.
Okay.
Like where, he's getting people to sign up, for courses or seminars and stuff like that. And then, part of my problem with people like that in that field is it's like taking hitting or pitching advice from somebody that never had a career in the major leagues. Right.
It's like he didn't do the grind.
Right. You're just trying to like charge me $500 an hour for your pitching mechanics, but you never threw X amount of days for a year.
Right.
Or whatever.
What's funny, like you say that is people will like ask me for pitching lessons. And I'll be like, well, what do you normally pay for the guy you pay? They're like, well, he's like, well, he was like an okay reliever or pitcher, or he played college ball. I'm like, and you pay him how much an hour? Like, I'm like, okay, whatever you pay him, I'm definitely triple than that. Like, there's no way, like, I'm not gonna even waste my time if you're not gonna pay like what I'm worth.
Yeah. And like our company was set up in a way too, like, we don't charge anybody for access to like the properties that we build. I'm going to explain to you why I think it's a good, deal for you, why it's a good tax incentive for you, whatever. If you decide to buy it, great. If not, no big deal. But a lot of these companies will charge people like an entry fee. Like, you want access to our inventory or our opportunities. Like, it's a $5,000 a year membership, blah, blah. Or pay,
that's what it is. Yeah.
Or pay like $40,000 to come to this seminar. And then as a VIP member, then you're going to get access to all these other professionals. Like, I can't stand stuff like that, dude.
No, I mean,
because most of those guys, like, that's part of the reason I dropped out of college. I mean, I was working my way through college, like going to school at night and early in the morning while I was working at the bank. And, one day I walked in and like not my econ teacher, it was like a business 301 class or something like that. And I fell asleep in class. It was like a 7 a.m. class. And he like made an example out of me, like, this kid's not going anywhere. And at the time, like a week before that, I had just got like my first like commission check from raising money from this fund that we had started. And I got like $100,000 or $120,000 or something like that. And I was just like, dude, you know what? Fuck this guy. He's never started a business, never done anything except memorized a textbook. And I'm not going to learn anything from him. And I got up and walked out. I didn't even graduate college. I left like 18 credit hours short of my degree because I was like, I'm done with this.
Right.
It's stupid.
He's not going to teach you where you want to go in life.
No. And people like that, dude, like, learn from people that have actually done it. Pay Brandon Kintzler to be your pitching coach.
Right.
Pay someone that's actually gone out there, spent their own money, not borrowed it from somebody else, or, hey, I use investor money to do this deal. It's like, okay, well, why don't you do it with your own money and then we'll talk. Yeah. It's really easy to be cavalier with somebody else's dollars, dude. But when your family's future depends on it and like your kids going to, college depends on it, like, then bring me the deal, dude.
Yeah. That's when you'll learn about a lot about a man is when you're fighting for your house. Let me know when you're fighting for your house, and then let me see what you do, and then I'll learn a lot about you. Yeah. And I think that's where I got where I came to a point a few times. Like, I had just bought a house, and it was 2015. I was finally making like 7 figures, but that goes away fast if you never play again. Yeah. So then all of a sudden I was in the minor leagues starting 2016. I remember meeting with my financial guy. I'm like, I think I got to sell my house. And he goes, well, you're going to have to pitch better. And I'm like, fuck.
Your financial guy said that too. You're like, fuck you. Yeah.
Like, basically, get out of the minor leagues. You want to sell your house.
Yeah.
It's a brand new house. It was like, that's a whole different motivation right there too. Besides, then I had a kid, which changed everything. Like, now you're pitching for family. You got to take care of somebody else. But that's where you're going to learn a lot about people is when their back's against the wall and you got to pay for your house. And I'm sure you've been in situations where you thought, you're like, shit, if I don't get this deal done, we're not going to have a house. Oh, dude. I mean, during COVID, when you were in
Chicago, like I bought some buildings there and opened restaurants, right?
Wow.
And some bars in Vegas too.
I remember you talking about a bar.
Yeah. And then when COVID happened, the bar that I was working on in Chicago, COVID happened, and I was like, dude, I don't feel good about this. I don't think this market's going to come back. I sent all my investors 100% of their money back.
Wow.
I was like, hey, we're going to, take it easy and just see what happens. But the other two companies, the ones in Vegas survived, and I was able to sell those off. But like the stuff in Chicago that I, spent my own money on and put, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into was out of business overnight. I mean, we literally opened for business 6 months before COVID, which is like your first year and a half in a restaurant hospitality business is like make or break. And now you just shut us down. We had the best, feedback in Chicago. We were like top 5 on every list and, best cocktails, best food, all this stuff. And then you just take it all away. I couldn't hire anybody back because nobody wanted to work. So
everyone.
I was just like, dude, I just shut it down. I took an L on that. And, I have a newborn at home. My wife's pregnant again.
Oh my God.
I'm like, all right, well, what am I going to do? And, I had to go back to the drawing board and be like, oh, well, I have this skill set.
Back to what got you there.
Yeah. And there's no easy way to do it. When you were saying when someone's fighting for your house, fight for your house, but like, are you going to fight in the right way? Are you going to try to take a shortcut? Are you going to try to like get one over on somebody else so that you can pay your mortgage? That's what I want to see. I want to see you do it with class and like you suffer, not put somebody else in a position to suffer so you can pay your mortgage off. Dude, it does, man. It's cutthroat. I mean, it's the Wild West, baby.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, especially on the commercial side because you're not regulated by anything. So,
jeez.
Yeah, but
well, I love
good.
that. I love. I can feel the vision from you, though. I feel like whatever tunnel vision you got that you started is like you're on the right path of doing like amazing things.
Well, I appreciate it, man. It's like one day at a time that ends up being 10 years in the future. Hopefully, it's something that I'm proud of. So,
yeah, that's the thing is just keep your head down. Don't get too high, too low. That's all I got to say is.
I love it.
It goes by fast.
Yeah. Well, now, I'm in a position too where, things have kind of eased a little bit. I mean, dude, I was working from sunrise to sunset, not seeing my kids. I was working on weekends. If I wasn't working on the weekends, I was on a plane flying somewhere else to try to, get a deal done or make connections or whatever. And there was like a 4-year period there. Like I give, my wife so much credit because she's a badass, dude. I mean, she just like hunkered down, took care. I mean, I'm sure in the big leagues too, there's a lot of that, right? It's like you got kids at home, but like, hey, you got to go.
Yeah.
But Brandon's not here. So she held the fort down. And now, fortunately, I get to spend a lot more time with my kids. I get to, spend my mornings with them, take them to school, go to all their sports, like,
And in the end, that's why we do what we do. I think that's what it's all about. It's not about 100%. It's not about the stuff you could buy. It's the time.
100%.
I've definitely learned about that. That's what's crazy. When I first came home, I was just trying to help. And she's like, can you stop helping? You're like in the way. I'm like, I'm just trying to help.
Dude, the first 6 months I moved into a new house, right? We built a new house. First 6 months, I'm like, I'm working my ass off. First 6 months I came home, I didn't even know where dishes and stuff were because I wasn't there to like put stuff away. So I'd have to walk around the kitchen and be like, babe, like, where's the knives? Where's the plates? She's like, oh, God, get out of here.
Yeah, they definitely, like, I give the wives a ton of credit for allowing us to. I couldn't even imagine being home with 2 kids, especially 2 newborns by myself. I couldn't even imagine. There's no shot.
No, we're not built for that.
No.
But, well, I appreciate it, man. And,
yeah, man. Anytime you need anything.
Yeah, we'll have to do this again. I'm actually going to be in Vegas the end of October. I'm going to come out there for like 4 days for the.
Oh, Aaron's going to be here too.
Is he? I'm going to the Chiefs Raiders game.
So am I.
Game time. My wife's a huge Chiefs fan. She's from Kansas City.
Really?
And everybody in Lubbock, Texas is a Kansas City Chiefs fan because Pat Mahomes went to Texas Tech.
Yeah.
So I'm like surrounded by the enemy. So I can't wait.
No, I'll be there. Section 1. My seats are 131, 132, something like that. Row 17. Okay.
I haven't looked. I'm going to look at tickets this week and get it all.
Yeah,
we got to play golf. You still golfing?
That's the thing. It's funny is I thought when I would retire, I would golf every day of my life.
Yeah.
But then I probably golfed 3 times since I've retired. I mean, I'm down to golf all the time. It's just a matter of like I don't have any friends here that would just go golf with.
We'll do it.
Yeah.
Let's go. Dude, I got my handicaps down to an 8. You remember where I started?
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah. I was like the guy that picked up the ball every second shot. So
that's a lot of hard work. That's hard work getting down to 8 from where you came from.
Dude, I just hate sucking at stuff.
Yeah.
Drives me nuts. So luckily it was golf or like even chess. Like I picked up chess during COVID and I hated getting beat so bad. I paid like 2 Russian girl, like one Ukrainian girl who's like a world champion and one Russian dude. I was taking online lessons with them for an hour each a week just so I get better at chess. Because I was like, dude, I'm not going to lose.
That's fucking awesome. But that probably prepares you for other things, though.
Yeah, well, we got to get together for dinner, man. I appreciate it. Yeah. I'll hit you up when I get my tickets. You said you're in 131?
131? Yeah, I think that's my season tickets. 131. It's in the club level. You want to be able to get those suite access. I mean, the club access. Cool.
Appreciate it. And then when this gets edited and clipped out too, I can send you clips or like whatever you want.
Yeah.
So let me promote your podcast and stuff.
Yeah, then I'll have my nephew put it on whatever he can.
All right, brother. Well, I appreciate you, man.
Good talking with you.
Yeah, you too. Later.